Welcome to the Unlist. Today I'm talking about suit and tie fragrances. Now I know some of you are going to say, what does he know about suit and tie fragrances? Right? He always wears pajamas. And my answer to that is, I always wear pajamas on camera, but I do have other clothes. If you need proof that I own a tie, give me 1 second. Oh, look. It's a tie. Now the thing is, there's more than one kind of suit and tie event that you could attend. So, if you're wearing sartorial clothing for a really high-end event, like you're going to the opera, you're going to Broadway musical, you're attending an actual ball or some kind of dinner, function, with people you're not close to. So we're talking like coworkers, your boss. You're going to a family reunion in an expensive rented hall like Martin's West or someplace like that, where everybody's eating prime rib, surf and turf, and drinking bottles of Dom and stuff like that. Then yeah, I have recommendations that are going to be a bit more on the serious side. Okay. But if you're going to like a fancy restaurant with a date, or you're attending a friend's wedding, you can cut loose a little bit, do a little bit sweeter, a little bit muskier. You don't have to make it chin up like this. But if you're not amongst friends, or close relatives, or loved ones, or dating prospects, if you're among coworkers, distant relations, strangers, it's a high society function, and you're just there for the face culture aspect of it. If it's performative, is basically what I'm saying. That you want to keep it serious, you want to keep it buttoned up, structured, clean, not real musky, not real spicy, not sweet. So, and also not common. What I mean by that is smells that are recognizably common. I love drugstore fragrances. Don't get me wrong. I love them. But they're common. People may not actually own a bottle of Brut, but they had a dad or a granddad who did. So as much as I love Brut, as much as I love Wild Country, okay, as much as I love Canoe, Clubman Pinot, all that stuff, they're common. I would not wear them in a suit and tie function like this. Even something like Azzaro Pour Homme, classic signature fragrance. Paco Rabanne Pour Homme, same thing, classic soapy fougere. Just too common. People recognize those smells. So you don't want to go to a function and have that be a part of it. Because people are going to smell that and be like, yeah, you smell like my uncle, you smell like my dad, my granddad. The whole point of wearing a fragrance like these that I'm going to recommend to you is to have that higher cut kind of vibe, to broadcast sophistication, gentlemanly class, because you're around strangers. Again, you're not around brothers and sisters, you're not around loved ones, people that you're taking out on a date, okay? You're around people for whom you're trying to have some performative masculinity or performative sophistication. You're like me, you're not sophisticated. I mean, I'm basically white trash. So, but you can pretend, right? You can fake it until you make it. So in the situations where you're trying to fake it until you make it, no Brute, no Wild Country, no Paco Rabanne, no Azzaro. I'm sorry, guys. I know they're classic. I love them. But just no. Okay. Doesn't mean you can't wear a vintage fragrance. Okay? You can wear a vintage fragrance, just not a common one. Okay? So, again, has to be something that people are not going to recognize. That's a must if you're doing one of these suit and tie kind of things, where you're going to be putting on a show. You're putting the mask on, okay? The tuxedo mask, if you watch Sailor Moon at all. Right? So, there are high-end and low-end options. So I'm going to give you some cheaper ones, some more expensive ones. Luckily, discounters exist, so even the expensive options can be had for less money if you look around. But whatever your comfort zone is, I will have something for you. So starting it off, one of my favorites for a suit and tie function is this guy, 1997, Lalique Pour Homme. This one is a classic semi-oriental style fougere, so it's going to have sandalwood in it. It's got a pretty prominent petitgrain in this, and there's a bit of iris in here too. Now, it's not going to be iris like a Prada fragrance. It's not going to be iris like Dior Homme either. It's more of a Shalimar style iris because it's got the orris and the lavender combining together. And that orris and lavender combo kind of gives you that Shalimar-esque feel to this fragrance, but it's still masculine. It's still got the patchouli, the oak moss. Okay, it's very dry, very sharp, very clean and structured and woody, and it smells very classy, very gentlemanly. There's an eau de toilette you can buy if you want a fresher version. If you want a little bit richer, this is eau de parfum. You can buy this one. They come in the same bottle either way. And like I said, they're very classy, very distinguished, very inexpensive. Now, if you want something a bit more modern, but you still want to keep it inexpensive, then we can move you over to this. Same house though, Lalique Linsumis, okay. Linsumis, 2015, I think, is when this came out. And this one is also going to have a primarily lavender focus, but this has got a bit more of a fuzzy, scratchy modern base, which some of you guys who like Sauvage and stuff like that, you prefer that more scratchy, sort of like B612 or whatever from Nishane, that kind of vibe, that's your thing, then this is like that, but a bit richer. It's got a bit of a boozy note to it, but it's not overtly boozy. You won't smell like a drink cabinet, but it's got a bit of a sweetness, but not sweet in a cloying way, not in a clubber kind of way. It's very sophisticated. Patchouli plays a big part of this. So it's mainly the lavender, the patchouli, that kind of harsh, chemical, woody vibe underneath, but then the slight booziness rounds it off. And it actually works really well. And it has the same black tie kind of feeling, but in a more modern, avant-garde way. In a way that younger people might be better off with than the other one. I mean, I like the other one more, but I'm trying to pick something for everybody. Now, a little more expensive, but also pretty good. Sartorial from 2010, Penhaligon's. Bertrand Duchefort made this fragrance. He's a very interesting perfumer. Does a lot of really weird experimental stuff. This smells basically just like you're going into a tailor. The fabric, the hot pressed irons, the lavender sprigs that go into the pocket squares when they're pressing the fabric. There's a really interesting compressed like castoreum leather that smells like the stropping leather for a razor blade. So this has a tiny bit of a sort of barbershop meets tailor combined together. Very old school London gentleman, but it's got a freshness to it. So it's not going to smell like that Azzaro Brut thing I was saying earlier. You're not going to smell like that, but you're going to smell very structured. This is the kind of fragrance right here, sartorial. This is the kind of fragrance that I expect you to pull up in like a vintage Jaguar XJ, like an XJ6 or something, and then Jeremy Clarkson's like Jag the moment you get out of it, right? And this is kind of that. And I really think for a very formal suit and tie event, you're cosplaying as Bruce Wayne, you know, this is kind of the fragrance you want to wear for that. It's going to set you back like, you know, $200. Sometimes you can get it discounted for like 100, 125. It's really sad because when I bought this discounted in like 2018, $50. $50, man. Now it's like at least 125. But if you pay full retail, then 182. But honestly, probably worth it because lifetime supply. This is lifetime supply. Stuff is very strong. So another really high-end option. Another sort of more modern take on the fougere. Like I said, you don't want something that's too mature. Then you could get this Masculine Pluriel by Maison Francis Kurkdjian. This came out in 2014. Now this particular fragrance has recently been kind of, I don't know if it's been reformulated or if they took the dye out of it, but the new bottles don't have this color. The juice is not this color. So some folks say it smells the same. Others say it smells fresher and lighter. I can't confirm either way, but I can tell you what this smells like, what I have in the bottle now. So the thing about this is Francis Kurkdjian's take on a structured, gentlemanly, masculine fragrance. So it has this really big dose of lavender absolute, and it's not lavandin, so it's not that spiky sauvage style lavender. And lavandin was also used in Caron pour un eau, so it's a more medicinal lavender. This is definitely more of that rounded English style, French style lavender, where it's got more of a slight curve to it. It's not as harsh. And they combine that lavender with patchouli, with vetiver, and a kind of suede leather note. So it's not like a sour tannery leather or like a castoreum leather like the Penhaligon's has. It's more of that like nubuck soft suede shoes, like a pair of Timberlands kind of leather, that kind of leather. So honestly, it's simple. A lot of people who are big into niche fragrances or have past MFK fragrances like Apom and Lumiere Noir, they got a little bit upset at this because it was so simple. They were expecting more avant-garde, more experimental, but this is very straight and narrow, and it has its purpose. This is like the the black suit and tie fragrance from this particular house. And it's high quality, but no, it's not particularly complex. It doesn't really progress over time on your skin. It kind of stays just about the same. But again, you're in a context where you're trying to just be proper. You're not needing a fragrance to take you on this long olfactive journey. That's what you do in your own time, in your own home, right? You don't do that when you're at some kind of social function. It just has to smell clean, proper, gentlemanly, structured. Like I said, have class. So if it's a bit linear, who cares? I mean, obviously, I have a bottle of this stuff, so I don't buy garbage. And this, even discounted, this wasn't cheap. So again, if I'm plunking down money on this, then you know it's good. It's just like I said, it's like a really high-end cheesecake, but it's still cheesecake. Cheesecake is not a very complex thing, but it's very rich and it's very decadent. And this is kind of how I feel about this. It's very rich, decadent fragrance, but it's not complex. It doesn't have a million flavors going on with it. It's just lavender, patchouli, very clean. There are a lot of synthetic top notes in this on top of the lavender, like the hydromyrocinol, stuff like that, to give it that soapy, modern, sheer feeling. And if you're someone who is very classically oriented and you don't like that, you may not like this. But this is the more modern option, like I said, and it's fantastic. I like it. Okay, say what you will about it, but I like it. I just can't tell you what the new bottles smell like. I haven't smelled any of those. Now, if you do want something more classic, but again, you want that suit and tie, you're going to the formal event, and not around loved ones, not around family, then I can recommend this right here. And some of you get mad when I plug this fragrance because it's from another YouTuber. It's a content creator brand, but I paid money for this, so I'm entitled to talk about it as much as I want because I bought this with my own money. This was not a promotional item. Dan did not give this to me. He took my money. So, but this is Gravitas Pour Homme from Naughton and Wilson. 2020, I believe this came out. And this is the second generation bottle. The first generation had a clear label. Second generation had this metal plaque on it. And now the new ones have a different bottle altogether. It's a little bit bigger, taller, a little bit thinner this way though, a little bit thinner this way, but a bit bigger this way, and it's got like a pressed metal label on the front. But it's the same juice, doesn't matter. So yours probably won't look like this. If you buy this now, it won't look like this. But this, why I think this is good for a suit and tie situation is it takes those classic semi-oriental fougères. It takes things like Bois de Portugal. It takes things like Etienne Agenet Super Fragrance. It takes things like Pierre Cardin, and it modernizes that formula. So it pushes it into the current day. So you get a lot of oak moss, you get the petitgrain, you get the patchouli, the lavender and the geranium, you get the spices in here, but it's executed in a way that it doesn't feel overly mossy or overly musky. Like, the oak moss is very present in this. You will definitely smell it, but the tonka is not super thick, so it's not going to have, again, that sort of clubman feel. It's not going to feel like that. And it just has this very, like, I can only describe it as redolent, has this really redolent feeling to it. And it's just very, very classy. Now, you want a little bit sweeter, you can do the Essentia version, which is like the fresher version. This has got more vanilla and it's got Artemisia in it as well. So this is a bit sweeter, rounder. Features mint. The other one doesn't have mint. This has got mint in it. So the mint, the vanilla, Artemisia kind of make this a bit on the chewier side, a bit on the more herbal, a little bit sweeter. But you could also sub the other one out in for this one, Gravitas Essentia. I think 2022 is when this one came out, so 2 years later. But they're both really good. And of course, if money really is no object for you and you've got to spend, then we can just go right to the Creed Boda Portugal and talk about that right now. Let's just go grab that. This is certainly the black tie fragrance for the CEO, for the owner of the business. Okay, the guy whose name is on the sign. He's driving the Cadillac. He's driving the 7 Series BMW. He's not driving a Ferrari or something like that, because that's not his vibe. His vibe is the big Luxo barge type of thing. Okay, that's what he likes. So he likes his Armani suits, his big Davidoff cigars. Okay, he listens to Miles Davis or something like that in his sort of gigantic Macintosh stereo. Yeah, $50,000 stereo. That's the kind of guy that wears this. You know, not Patrick Bateman with his Genesis compact discs and his plastic sheets on his floor because he's getting ready to axe murder somebody for not liking his business card. We're not talking that kind of guy. So we're talking the Maxi Deans of the world. Beetlejuice reference right there for you guys. But that's who we're talking about. So if you're a Maxi Dean, then this is your fragrance right here. To me, this is kind of like the ultimate in this category, because people who smell this may not know it's Creed, and they may not know what it's called, but people who smell this always seem to know it's expensive. And I've done blind samples of this, and it doesn't happen with Aventus, and it doesn't happen with Green Irish Tweed or any of the other Creeds I own. It only happens with Boda Portugal. But if I give people a blind smell test of this, they always go, gee, that smells expensive. So, just saying. Now, you can still buy this discounted. It won't be the old bottle like this with the big shoulders. The new ones kind of slope like this. And they no longer have the felt label like this. They got just a regular green label now. But $200, $225, I think, discounted. You might be able to get it under $2, get $180, $190, I don't know, but it's still a lot of money. Obviously, retail is $500 fucking dollars. I'm not going to ask you to spend PlayStation 5 money on a bottle of cologne. But again, if you got it like that, if you're the Maxi Dean type of person, and you've got the Gordon Gekko as another one. If you're the Gordon Gekko guy and you've got the PlayStation 5 money to drop on a bottle of cologne, you don't want to go to a discounter, you can walk right into Nordstrom, walk right into Neiman Marcus or Harrods or whatever store similar, Bergdorf Goodman, and just grab this right then and there and be done with it if you want. I'm not going to tell you what to pay for or how to pay for, but this is kind of the apex predator, if you will, of this whole genre. The Boda Portugal is like the apex predator of it. So, last but not least, Heritage by Guerlain. So, This is another fragrance that you could sub in for a thing like Bois de Portugal, similar to the Lalique Pour Homme. This is Jean-Paul Guerlain's last thing he really did mainstream for the men's side before he was kind of kicked upstairs into the executive role that he got. But this is another very classic semi-oriental fougere. The big difference between something like this and Bois de Portugal is transparency. This has a certain crystalline transparency to it, like stained glass window. It's not quite Jean-Claude Elena levels of transparency, so don't get it twisted. It's not like Terre d'Hermes, but whereas Bois de Portugal is just absolutely opaque, you know, this shimmers a bit more. It's a bit more sparkling, and it's softer, and it just carries in the air. It wafts a bit differently than Bois de Portugal does. So this is a bit more understated. So if you want a more understated kind of black tie fragrance, still semi-oriental, still basically a fougere. So it's got some chypre facets, a bit of that Guerlainade is also in here as well. So a little bit sweeter, but not super sweet. And the new bottles will also not look like this. They'll be the square bottle, the same bottle that L'Homme Ideal comes in. So if you know the L'Homme Ideal bottle, that's the current bottle, but I've got the one generation back. I've got the Listerine bottle. And this is the eau de toilette, but they also make an eau de parfum, a little bit heavier, but I prefer the lighter one with this particular fragrance. So 1992, I believe. You can go down the vintage rabbit hole if you want to and get the gold caps and the silver caps and have the sloped shoulders. If you want to go that route and spend the big bucks on it, go ahead, knock yourself out. I won't tell you not to. Yes, the gold caps do have more sandalwood in them because they had real sandalwood. And they also had a bit more oak moss, obviously, because the restrictions weren't quite there yet. But honestly, if it's a functional fragrance you're after, you're wearing this to dress up, you're not a collector, you're not a snob, you're not someone that's sitting there crossing your T's and dotting your I's, okay, it's not that serious for you, you just wanted to get the job done, then get any bottle of this you can. Doesn't matter what year it is. You get the new one, get the older one, get the oldest one. I don't care. Just get it. So. You know? I just realized that just about everything I've recommended is a fougere. Whoopsie. And before I finish this video out, the reason why the iris fragrances, okay, the Prada L'Homme, the Prada Amber Pour Homme, the Dior Homme, that sort of thing, I don't feel like they make good black tie fragrances because that clean, soapy iris feeling where it's very prominent like that, to me, that is more office. You're going to the office, you're going to work, you're in a work environment, you want it to be clean and subtle and sedate. You're not puffing your chest out, it's not performative enough. So that's why I didn't say take your Prada L'Homme to the black tie event, okay? Take your Dior Homme from 2005 to the black tie event. I just don't feel like they fit that context. You may disagree. And if you disagree, then wear your Dior Homme Parfum or whatever, or your Prada Amber, or your Valentino Uomo Intense or whatever. You want to wear the iris fragrances to the gala, wear the iris fragrances to you know, the work dinner, do it. I don't care. I will make one exception though. I've mentioned this fragrance before multiple times, so this is nothing new for those of you who've been watching me, but this Caron Pour Un Homme Les Soies, this Les Soies version, this is the best of both worlds. You get your lavender, fougere, clean, structured smell with the iris mixed in. So this is kind of like that crossover between Prada L'Homme, Dior Homme, and Caron Pour Un Homme. So this is about as irisy as I would go for a black tie event kind of fragrance where you're dressing up, because it's not the full soap bar. Okay, you wear something like Prada Amber, that's full bar of soap. You wear something like Prada L'Homme, again, full bar of soap. The full ivory soap, 99.44% pure, whatever. It's so pure it floats, right? The commercials for the ivory soap, it floats. So, and we all float down here, Georgie. We all float down here, right? So, I don't think you want to take that to, you know, again, a fancy meetup with the CEO. I don't think you want to go to the family reunion wearing that. But again, you could disagree with me. So, my last but not least, laster, because the other one was the last one. This is the PS. Okay, this is the PS fragrance, but this one here, Pour Un Homme de Caron Les Soies. This would be a good black tie alternative if you really need to have your iris fixed. Still lavender though, still clean, still structured, still gentlemanly. Okay, still checks the boxes. Okay guys, there you have it. That is my suit and tie scents video in my pajamas. Hopefully you find it useful. Catch you next time.